issues.
Excuse me, Emily.
Mhm.
Are you moving ahead? I'm still seeing just the front page.
Yeah, me too.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. We're still on your cover sheet.
Okay, 1 minute.
Ah,
See it now?
There we go.
Yay! Okay. So I'll just run through it again. Thanks for letting me know. Here's the map of where it is, right in the middle of the University Historic District. There's the background, black and white photos from the National Register nomination. This was what was blurry and what I was apologizing for, but mainly what's all happening on the west elevation, which is the front facade, is happening with the stairs and the masonry railings right here. And then this is the path that we're talking about with replacing the brick. Now onto the south elevation. Talking about the roof right here is really sagging, so it needs some significant restoration there. Removing the wooden steps, which are actually right here. It's a back entry, and just replacing them in kind, and as well as a railing, so it's almost falling down as it is right now. And then a new awning over that as well, which will be sunbrella fabric. And then there's more photos here of what we're talking about. There's the awning right now. These are the stairs as they are right now. So it's just replacing that, keeping it all in kind, same footprint, same everything. And then checking on this kind of fire escape, which actually looks to be pretty old. We don't know if it's original or not, but just checking on that and restoring it back so it can be usable. And the east elevation is new exterior storm doors. You can see non-original. Both entrances are original per the plans. And so they're going to be both these doors with fir panel doors and half lights. And then new stairs, again, using fir and a new metal hand railing. So really minimal stuff, just kind of nice stuff that we like to see. As far as our local review criteria for alterations, the staff findings, what I found was that the major architectural features will not be adversely affected. And these alterations serve to maintain and restore the site back to its original, historic glory. It will not substantially diminish or adversely affect the integrity of the building. And it, in fact, it actually serves to enhance the building. Secretary of Interior Standards, I know you guys know all these. Used for its historic purpose or one that requires minimal change. The character should be retained, no removal of historic materials, which we're not doing. Physical record of its time, so we're not taking away anything that has gained significance in its own right. And distinctive features, again, it's more restoration and maintenance and recapping and fixing the stairs and bringing them back to their historic original materials, repointing bricks. So that satisfies 6 as well. No chemical or physical treatments, no digging, no new additions. And even if there were, they would be reversible for any of these. So the cumulative effect under the the Secretary of Interior Standards for Historic Rehabilitation, the scope of work generally is rafter till and soffit restoration using in-kind materials, west, south, and eastern stair entrance restoration, again using in-kind materials, replacing those non-historic materials with virgin fir. Replace non-historic doors with paneled fir doors, addition of metal hand railings for code updates, repointing brick, resetting sandstone column caps, and repairing the brick entry path. So the conclusion is that it does substantially meet the Secretary of Interior standards. And the staff recommendation is that these exterior restoration be approved. And then my very long conclusion just goes through everything that I basically just presented on. So that's our presentation. Are there any questions for me? Kent.
And
Yeah, I just noticed your header is for 100 West
Oh,
Railroad.
no, I didn't replace that. Okay, but look, there it is. I didn't do the last two. Shoot,
Okay.
you caught me with the save as new address.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
okay, this is a question for admin. Did you say that we don't have a quorum or we do have?
We do have a quorum. It was a computer problem. But-
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, we need a motion and a second, and then we can open it up to discussion. Kent?
I move approval.
I second.
Who seconded?
Kathy.
Oh, Kathy? Okay, all right. All right, let's open it up for discussion. I don't believe we have any public comment, do we? Amy?
There was submitted comment in the staff report, which is linked into the agenda, and both were in support of it.
Yes. Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, my only comment is I'm really excited this is being done and kudos to them for all the work that they're doing.
All right, anybody else?
Just second what Kathy said.
That was very good. And also, Amy, very good job in putting this together.
Yes, thank you.
I'll get the address right next time.
All right. Call for the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed? Oh, on this call, do we need to have a roll call? Or do we?
I believe so. Mm-mm.
So, okay. So let's, anybody opposed? Sounds like the ayes have it, so motion is passed. Okay. Going to old business, we have a presentation, preliminary plans for the adaptive reuse of 903 South First Street. And this is just for information tonight. And Mike Morgan, I guess you will be presenting that.
Hello, can everybody see me and hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Do I start this, or Emily, do you say some things first, or
I
how
can
do we do
open
this?
it up. Yeah, so this hasn't, a while back, I think it was April, May, the HPC voted to deem 903 South First Street as eligible for the adaptive reuse overlay. So it was the Bissinger warehouse that we discussed a while back. This hasn't gone to council yet. So this is just preliminary for you guys, because this will be kind of the first time that we'll be reviewing our local register for additions. And we do want to use the Secretary of Interior standards for that. It'll be up to council again. They are the ones who kind of assess whether this rezoning is appropriate for the neighborhood, for the use, then it will come to us, and the HPC will be reviewing for design under Secretary of Interior standards for the new addition, and for any alterations to the historic aspect of the building. So this is just before Mike, goes the whole way, getting us on board so we can see what's coming up and any thoughts that we have for the proposed additions. And Mike, you can go ahead and share your screen if you want, whatever you'd like.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go through a little bit of just a general review of our objectives, and as well as show you some pictures of some existing building and some proposed design work. Does that sound about the right, what you're looking for tonight, Emily? Does that sound right?
That's perfect, yeah.
Okay, very good. So I'll get into a share screen here, and give me 1 second here. So, okay, I think now you see a picture of the existing building, right?
Yes,
Okay, so this is the building, in case everybody doesn't know this building. I think you do, correct? Everybody know this building now? Okay,
yes.
so this is existing, and it's been, prior to the current owners of the project, of the property, it was privately owned for many decades, and it was just private storage inside. So the downside to that is it didn't get much attention, so it's a little rough. The good side is it's been barely altered. It's practically completely original, which is fantastic. Other than it has some purple haze paint on it. Behind that paint is Missoula brick, and for the most part, it's in pretty good shape. There's some areas classic to Missoula brick that have decomposed a bit, but it's in pretty good shape. The structure is all original inside. Really, I can't tell you how excited I am about this. Actually, I've been practicing architecture for, I don't know, about 30 years, and this is just, I just can't hardly contain myself how excited I am about it. And I know right now all you're seeing is this purple thing, but I'll try to give you a little bit of story of what we're planning on. So the first objective is, first priority is this building, this brick building is very special to me. I own this building. I'm one of the owners of this property. So I have a very personal interest in it. And this building will be preserved. No exterior exposure will be minimized from what's exposed now. We will want to remove the paint and bring that original brick finish back. There's even right here is it's a penthouse that's housing an electric freight elevator that's original in the building, still operates, and we'll maintain that elevator. And actually we plan to, you'll see in a minute here, some additions above this building that are set back quite a bit from the front of the buildings, outside perimeter of the building, I mean. And then even that the gear wheels and the mechanisms, we're gonna display that so you can see it. So that's gonna be kind of fun. So anyway, here's the front facing part of this building. Attached right here is a concrete block building that was added sometime in the history, or added sometime in the future after this building, I think in the 60s. It has no value. We plan to take this down, this part here. And then you'll see in a minute how that actually will present the full depth of this building also. Right now, you can't see the full depth because it's behind this addition. And then if I take up another picture here, that's sec here. Don't look at that yet. Don't look at that yet. Sorry, my order of things are off a little bit. This picture here is along the tracks. The east side of the building, the Bitterroot Branch Rail, the bike path. This is the side of the brick warehouse. There's still a rail spur along this grassy area here. It's still in place. This is originally a loading dock. And back here is a block building that's attached to this brick building that's part of the historic overlay, I guess is that what we call it, Emily, the proper term. It's part of the,
Industrial use overlay.
yes, protection overlay. Can't see it very well back here, but it's attached to the back of this building that was added, I think around 1960 or so. And that'll be preserved also, but even though this is the most significant part of the historic building. So all of this length here, what I'm getting at, will be maintained, exposed, nothing covering it up. We'll take the paint off. Since this picture, these boards have been removed and this original window is still here. Most of the original windows are still there. They're in pretty sad shape, but they're there. And so now let me get to what we're proposing just a little bit. Also, first of all, inside that warehouse, it's just a warehouse, a big warehouse space. It's post and beam, old growth timbers inside with old growth, it looks to me old growth, rough sawn fir, 2 layers of 2-inch decking. And then there's a full basement under this building also. You can see a bit right here. Here's the top of the foundation and it goes full depth basement underneath there. That's all in really, really good condition also. So that'll all be maintained as well. So now if I go to a picture, let's start with this one. Here's what we're proposing at this time. This is the Bissinger warehouse and the paint being removed and showing the Missoula brick. These are all the original openings being preserved. There's a loading dock as well right here that's maintained and a door that's there presently. If I show you, for example, this picture, this is that loading dock. You can't see it underneath all this garbage. This is when the other owners were moving out. But there's a dock here and a door, and this is that building that's was added onto, and it's behind here. This building goes back twice as far as this. So when we remove this and add a new building at the same plane, you can see that brick warehouse going all the way back through that glass. So that's something I'm excited about. We present that even better than now. Now, this is all new, of course, and as part of the adaptive reuse part of the project. This is the part we're preserving, the historic building. This addition above here is coming out of a grid, a structural grid that's inside the building. And I'll show you where that grid is and how that's set back, so you get a good sense of that. Let me show you this other picture here real quick though, so here you really get a sense of how it's set back. Here's the Bissinger warehouse. This is the concrete block warehouse behind it. This is the perimeter. And then this is set back. This is a 2-story glass and steel building, so it's not trying to confuse what's historic and what isn't. And this is aligned with the structural grid inside the building. If I go, for example, to a floor plan, not that one. This floor plan, I zoom this in just a little bit. This is the original Bissinger warehouse again. And you can see here the structural, these posts are existing, and there's a structural grid that does this. These dashed lines are the structural grid. So the proposed new addition above is on the next grid back. And what I really like about that for many reasons is the original warehouse out front is very well presented as, and clearly the fourth most part of the project, and nothing is out front of it. So you can tell what's original, what isn't, but also it doesn't put any burden of new structure on the existing building, which the existing brick perimeter built walls are not structurally very solid. You know, they're just unreinforced masonry. I don't put any load on that. And so I can bring a structure down this grid next to these posts, so I'm not putting more load on the original posts even. And so that an interior environment can be preserved as best we can without even introducing new loads on the building, which is really important to me that we don't do that. And so that's basically the concept that what we're proposing with the AR overlay rezone is a mixed use project. It's we're not doing fur trading anymore. What this building was originally used for was fur trading by the Bissinger and Company. But we're preserving the space as it was when it was fur trading. Now we're going to change it into office retail type use. And this space back here will be maintained as manufacturing like it is now. And then this is all new, and this above this is new. And you know, you can tell everything else that's new. I think that's the historic part that we're preserving for sure is this brick building. So that's it in a real quick summary. How did I do, Emily? Anything that I should have said that I haven't said, you think, or?
No, I think that's you. Yep, you did it. And then I was hoping the HBC could put on their SOI caps and start thinking about that. We can think about it too.
Yeah, I think. Any comments or any questions for Mike? The only thing that I guess I wanted to say is that I wonder if there's a little bit of a way to make more separation between the new and the brick building so it isn't right up against it on the lower level. Is that so you kind of see that whole brick element?
Here,
Especially that side there, yeah, where your arrow was.
I'm sure there's some answer that that's possible if that needed to be separated.
Another thing we could do is, since we only have half the crew here, I could just collect comments via email and send them to Mike if we need a little more time to think on it. And that way we can get the rest of the commission looking at it too. One of my first things when I saw it was, you know, I appreciate that there's a clear distinction between what is old and what is new. But the materials of the new part being just being cognizant of being sensitive to the old part. So incorporating maybe a little more brick, even if it is new, that kind of incorporates, you know, it doesn't make it as distinguished, I guess.
Sure. Let me point for that, Emily, real quick here, in case it's up. So this black area here is brick. If I zoom this in, you can see it easier. And we chose black just so it's not the same color. Yeah. But this is a brick portion also, like you see some old brick, they'll paint it black. I'm not sure whether we want to paint it, but it maybe, or it's just a black color or a dark color. But so it has a texture like this does, but clearly not historic. That's my thought there.
Right.
So in case that helps.
And Mike, that glass area right there, does that show the original building behind?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So that was, yeah, maybe I repeat myself on that a little bit. Yeah, that's the part I was saying I was really happy about, is it is connected But it's so transparent with this glass frontage that you see that building. This is the back of that building. You see the entire depth of the building. Even though there's a wall here, but it's so transparent, you still see it. So I'm real excited about that, being able to present that. Because right now it's connected like just in the same place, and you don't see it as rendering, but there's another window like this right here that doesn't have its window anymore, but like many buildings you see that's been added on to, you still see those openings, even though there's no windows anymore. And there's a door opening right about back in here. So you'll see those openings without having to try to put a new window in them or a new door. And then this structure up here is steel, mainly for structural reasons, but also to really, definitely distinguish historic and new, very transparent, completely modern, obviously. That steel grid comes out, extends on out and over this loading dock. So it's covering this loading dock that's original, that's there. So it's new, but yet it's still really presenting the original without trying to completely detach it, because that's not how it's existed for several decades anyway. It's been added on to and not been freestanding. So we're maintaining exactly the same exterior exposure that it has now, but with new where it's not historic, anyway. Does that make sense?
Mike?
Kent?
Yeah, hi. It's got to be really interesting for you, and I'm pleased that you're able to do this. Kind of following what Jim was saying, I was looking again at the street view of the art museum, and maybe if you were to indent the connection so that at that place right there, something like they did, of course, at the art museum, it was the entrance. So it was more of a major element, but maybe you make the connection without, have the plane of your new building, and then it steps back and then makes the connection. So looks like there's more of a separation.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that maybe works, because this is acting as the entrance to the warehouse. This dock is how we will get into this building here. There's a door here. And if you see it right, there's a door here, but none of this is original, obviously. And this door is right on the property line. So I can't come forward with anything new outside of that to get in there. So I'm proposing I tear that off and let that be a glass instead, but I can't go off the property for entrance. Plus it'll take away from the original building. So we want to use this door, and I actually, little side note, I obtained a couple of old half glass double doors from the Mercantile building when it got demoed. And they're going to fit perfectly in this opening that's here right now. And so its historic character can be preserved there even without something new in there. So what everybody thinks about that, but I kind of like that idea. So right here, you can see this isn't original. It's plywood. Someone filled it in. There's a door here, but you can really see that it's an original opening with this steel lintel. And so those historic doors I got, they're sitting inside this warehouse right now, will fill that opening in, and they really fit in really nicely. So anyway, so this wall here is now glass right there instead of block. So you see that brick going all the way through. So that was my thought. Yeah, maybe that could indent more. It's an idea, Kent, sure. To me, the big thing is that it's so transparent that you can really see it regardless. It's like it's practically not a wall. It's very all glass and very transparent.
Kathy, did you?
Can you go to the other rendering that shows it from the corner? Yeah, that one. And then I was wondering if you have the brick building and then you have the concrete building?
This
Yeah,
one,
that one. Yeah, and then your next building over to the left, can that be inset a little bit also so it doesn't, I mean, is that all one solid face right there or can that be indented also?
yes, and that's what we're doing, all right. I'll show you right here.
Okay,
So this is a plan view, just so you can see more clearly versus that foreshortening effect of a rendering. But in that rendering, this is all still all in progress. All this design work, we've got long ways to go. We want to make sure that we are allowed to do a concept that we're doing here before we get too far into it. But this rendering does not show its setback, but as we were designing and creating this model, it became clear, just like you saw there, Kathy, that this needs to set back.
okay.
So, and in this plan, since this model is drawn in the drawings, now I'll zoom in here again for you. Here is the block warehouse building. And then we're stepping it back right there.
Yeah, scroll, there you go. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it doesn't give the appearance that the new
Yeah,
building ate the old one.
very exactly. I agree with you. And we step it back again and we step it back out. And we're altering this a little bit to what we're doing here is balconies for apartments up above and for the warehouse that continues down below, or manufacturing, I should say. So in this rendering here, this right here, this element here, actually will be like it's a loading dock, but a deck off of this manufacturing space. And this tower looking element here is balconies that are also, this is in plane with this wall, but the building is stepped back and the decks stick back even more, if that makes sense. So there's several different planes going on, but they're all back from this building. Let me show you that plan again. So back here from this corner, here's a sec. It backs some more, and that's where that loading dock looking deck would be.
Okay.
Back out, back in again where that other tower is, and decks, and then you wrap around the corner.
Okay,
So that, yeah, that was our idea there.
And then, Mike, I noticed as you scan that site plan that the indent we were talking about in front is there for the other around the corner.
Sure.
If you pan your site plan down so that that north elevation is showing.
Up here.
Yeah, there's the indent that it doesn't really show up in the model. Yeah, there it is.
Aha, yeah, very, very, there you go. Okay, yeah, let me show you that too. Good, thank you, Kent. So, let me see here. What's the best plan? One sec. So this is the ground level warehouse. Let me zoom this in a little bit more. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
this is the original brick warehouse right here. This,
Yeah.
and so here's the structural grid I'm talking about. This is the freight elevator that has that penthouse going up. And then this perimeter right here is the block building that was added on to later, this right here, that we want to take off because it's not serving any contribution. And then we're adding on new, and yeah, it steps out right here. Is that what you're talking about, Kent?
Yeah, exactly.
This is all
Exactly.
glass, this is all
Yeah.
glass, and this is that loading dock with the steel that comes over it. Yeah, so it is doing that indent. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Right. There's your separation.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Jim,
So-
Steve has a question.
Yes.
Steve, you
Go
can,
ahead.
*6 will unmute yourself.
Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to throw in some comments and especially echo what Jim said. I'm getting feedback, so I'm talking kind of slow because it sounds weird. You got quite a challenge because you're putting a 4-story building up against a historic 1-story building. And just by the sheer volume and massing of it, and especially since some of the building stretches over the old building, it looks like the new building is just subsuming the old building. And so I think you need to be more artful in kind of featuring the old building. And I think Jim was on the right track with suggesting some separation between the two. And I appreciate that the new part on top of the old part is set back. That's great. But it still looks like a huge kind of complex, overwhelming a single-story warehouse. And I didn't see a whole lot in the way of sympathetic materials and lines and language coming across. I know the black brick is masonry, but it's black, which is a kind of a more modern style. And I don't see much in the way of, and you don't have a lot of work, don't have a lot to work with because the warehouse is a simple building, but it's got some flattened arches, some shallow arches. It's got the Missoula brick. I like the idea of being able to see through the window to the historic building continuing back there. But I think if there's a way you can kind of bring a little more character across into the new, it doesn't have to look old. It doesn't have to be old. And if you can give it a little more separation, like Jim said, to keep that historic building distinct. That's my gut reaction.
Okay, so could you tell me, Steve, a little more, let's see, when I continue the character of the original building through into the new areas, I think you said an example, but I didn't quite catch it. Give me some ideas of what you mean by that, because I want to, I don't want to, you don't want me to blur the difference between historic and new, right? But like lines, you mean like this cornice line or
Yeah, I think
proportion of openings or what do you think?
those I think those two are great things to start with. I really like the fact that the windows have that shallow arch over them in the old masonry building.
Yes.
I don't know if you can bring some of that across. I wouldn't make it a theme and make every window an arched window, because then I think you'd be overdoing it.
Yeah.
But bringing some line, maybe some color, some texture, some window type, window language. Again, you don't have a whole lot to work with in that warehouse building. But bringing some of that across into the new, and maybe even some in just color, the color of Missoula brick, and not to absolutely match it, but to be sympathetic with it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, like maybe there's. Okay. Thank you, Steve. All right. That's good.
Sure.
I was going to talk, Steve, that's great. Thank you. That was exactly what I was hoping we could discuss, were those types of ways of viewing under Secretary of Interior. So that's awesome. Thanks, Steve. The coloring on the new building, so kind of what Steve was saying is we want the old buildings to be the eye catcher. We want those to be first and foremost. So that is the building that people look at immediately and understand and interact with. And that's kind of what we mean by not mimicking history with the new building, but letting the old building be the star shiny piece of it. And I wonder here with the coloring of the new, if even just like muting it down a little bit, toning it down so that the older buildings actually pop like immediately at you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's a little too contrasting right now.
Yeah, I did want to add a little bit to that because when I first look at this, it's almost as if the historic buildings, I don't want to say an afterthought, but it's kind of left and it's not a real proud historic building. And granted, it is a warehouse, but like I said before, I don't want the new building to look like it's eating the old one. And I think with a little bit of separation and the colors and maybe just some of the arches on the first floor, it'll bring out that this is a historic building and we like it and we want to show it off. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah. Okay. Good.
Finally, do we want to send this out to the rest of the commission and then get additional comments?
Yeah.
For
Yeah. I'll send an email to Mario and request comments, and then I can get everyone's comments in writing and send them back to you, Mike, if that works.
Okay, yeah.
Jim, I have to leave the meeting. I have a chorale rehearsal also on Zoom, so I will be leaving. And if we get it done and you're still at it, I'll come back. But thank you very much.
Okay, Ken. All right. Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate the presentation, and we'll move ahead here as you prepare your application and everything.
Thanks for your input.
Kathy?
Did I hear that this still has to go before the zoning board? So this is just your first step?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's such a big project that I did want to get it in front of HPC like first before.
Yeah.
Right.
It hasn't gone to any committees yet or anything, so. No,
Well,
on that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Mhm. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. I'm like I say, I'm very excited about this project. Very excited. I'm excited to own a little piece of history. I do want to be proud of the building, and I want the building to be proud of itself and not be eaten up. That's a good term. So we'll get it. Yep, we'll get there.
I wonder also, one thought I had is is that going to be like an open lobby, like where people are going in and kind of a, not public, but yeah, there is, or is it?
It's flexible. It's a commercial space, so it's to be occupied by a tenant.
Okay, gotcha. Because I was going to say, if it's just like a central lobby to get to somewhere else, since it's so transparent, it could be really cool to do like big photos of the old Bissinger advertisements or something like that, you know?
Really cool. I
Corporate.
like that. The intent is, I think that what I'm going to find is, I don't know who's occupying these spaces yet. I have interest, but I'm not ready to commit to anybody. But that whoever is using this space is going to use this also. It's all going to flow. That's the idea, because it is open to this building here. It steps down, but that's what it does now. So it's natural for this to be a use that's part of that, just like it is now. This garage is open to this warehouse, and it's functioning as one use. And I'm trying to just continue that same idea as it's been done for decades, but with a new building with transparency to it is all. But it could be that it's a separate tenant from this, or you just never know, right? It has to be flexible to over the years based on what somebody needs, how many square feet and all that, all that. I like the idea of it being a lobby, all right? We have a lobby here that goes, this goes, if you don't, can I take a couple more minutes of your time? Can I show you this and ask what you think?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is the area that we were just looking at, this area. This is a common entrance that gets you to the center of the overall building. This is all one building really, as far as structure and building code and use goes. Here's the warehouse, the original the other warehouse, new stuff. A common entrance that gets you back to this elevator and stairway core in the center part of the whole project. But if this could come in and get through here, I like that idea. Maybe that's how we get our separation, but yet connection and interfunction, because everything needs to circulate and get to stairs and elevators and all that. This is a loading dock height floor. How do people have that with accessibility needs get in there? You can't go up steps, so they need to get over to this elevator and get in there, for example. Well, maybe that's how they get there, through here. I like that idea. And then we can have some history, like you're saying, photographs, artifacts. Oh, I should mention, I was told it's okay to say that Washington Corp, who's a big part of the Montana Rail Link, they're liking this, and they're going to donate a monument, historic monument along trail somewhere, and they have some artifacts that they're willing to donate. So that'd be kind of cool. So maybe that could go in this kind of mini museum little area here. That's a great idea. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, and it's so transparent that people walking by could just see it from the outside.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Is that everything for now?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate everybody's input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night.
Bye.
You too.
Good night. Okay, getting back to the agenda of old business, the next one, is there anything on the Historic Covenants Subcommittee update?
We're still on Mike's screen. So
Yeah, bear with me here. I'm
Okay.
trying to figure out how to do it.
That's fine.
Let's see, I don't hit share screen. Oh, leave. I think this will work. See you, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not any updates for either the committees at this time, the subcommittees.
Okay. Anything on building watch then? What has happened to the radio building up on the hill there? Is that still?
Yeah, that's kind of just been mothballed.
Okay.
Parks wanted to demolish it, but luckily they don't even have enough money to do that. So it's sitting in the meantime. Yeah. So that's where it's at.
All right. Anything else?
Last I talked to Parks, they said there was no plans in the future. It's just kind of been put in the closet. So, but something that we should keep an eye on for sure.
Well, and if anybody comes up with some recommendations what to do there, maybe that will help them decide where to save it or not. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was challenging because the neighborhood actually went to Parks with the request to tear it down.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the neighborhood wanted it.
No, they don't want it because it's the only flat part of the park. So they want to put in a basketball court there
Oh,
or some sort of court.
huh. Because it's an old Forest Service radio building, and I wonder, worst case, not that I want to move buildings, but worst case, maybe talking to the Forest Service Museum.
So there was actually, yeah, we've talked to them and there's no funding there for that.
No, there's not.
But there was
Well,
a donor that came forward and offered to pay to move it to the fort.
Okay.
If they are going to move the building, could they just move it to a different area on the park if they so need that flat area? Then we're not moving it totally out of context. We're just nudging it over.
That's a possibility. I think that the issue is that the park is literally a hill. And so there might not be anywhere to move it that isn't on an incline, but that's a good idea to bring up.
Yeah, again, not that I want to be moving stuff willy-nilly, but it's a nice little building. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Staff report.
So I didn't upload a staff report because I don't know what is going on with technology this week, but even my Word wasn't working, so I couldn't get Word to work. But and I did a pretty thorough update last month, so I thought this month I wouldn't go as deep. But basically, since last month, all the same things are going on. Down. Have it in front of me here. The CLG semi-annual report was successfully submitted. I met with the city forester a few weeks back at Fort Missoula because the historic trees that line, it's not the parade grounds, it's the old Fort Road. So it's where the museum is, and then you keep going straight to the officers' row. They are going to, I don't know if they got extra funding, but they have a new crop of the same type of tree, and I lost the tree. What kind of tree is that? It was planted by the CCC.
Yeah.
And they last forever. And a few of them have died, so they're going to remove the ones that are actually like very dead, and they're dead, and they're going to put in new ones to replace them. And they're also going to dig a line and actually have water throughout the whole park. So that's really going to help all the historic trees out there because they're in pretty rough shape. And that's primarily because there hasn't been any drip lines and there hasn't been any watering since the 30s, really. So we're getting all that watering. And the first priority is to deal with the historic trees that are mentioned in the National Register. So that was a fun walkabout. One thing I didn't notice when I was out there is that there's a different kind of tree. I think they're maples that were planted in between the historic trees right in front of Officers Row. And I looked up who owns that, and I believe from what I could tell, it's the Northern Rockies Heritage Foundation that owns that. So they must have been the ones who put the new trees in
Emmy?
there. Yeah.
I can give you some enlightenment on that.
Yeah.
There was an entire tree plan created by the Northern Rockies Heritage Center. And part of the theory, and it actually went through the Preservation Commission in its day for approval. The theory was to plant trees now to replace all the Siberian elms because it's a monoculture out there. And the Siberian elms were on their way out in the long term. And so the idea was to keep the rhythm, keep the pattern, but put in an array of, I think, 3 different species. Number 1, so it wouldn't be a monoculture, and number 2, so the species were more local, more tolerant to local conditions, because Siberian elms evidently are invasive species. So it was a balance of long-term replacing all the Siberian elms that are out there now, and being a little more culturally or horticulturally sensitive to which species we put in to replace them.
Interesting. Huh. So, okay. I need to get a copy of that report. I'm sure the forester would like to see that too for the city. Do you know when
Okay.
it was done?
Not sure. I can look it up. I can get back to you later on that. It's gonna take a bit.
I can do a little search in our files too. That's interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on, the Lalonde resolution for the strategic framework and visioning was passed, which is great. One good thing in 2020. I met with Ryan Montgomery, who's still working on trying to utilize the administration building. And that's still being talked about. Again, I think I mentioned, a long time ago that the schools decided they're not going to sell it, they're going to lease it, which is a little challenging because of the zoning. So they would have to be willing to do the rezoning if it was to be adaptively reused. So that's kind of still up in the air, but I'm glad the conversations are still happening for that. I wrote a grant letter of support for Fort Missoula for the Japanese American Confinement Sites Program, so JAX, to get funding for, Paul talked about it last time, for the 2 additional barracks to be rebuilt up and to be interpreted and open to the public. So we'll hear about that. And other than those things, it's been a fast month. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any board comments?
Hey, how's the federal building downtown? Is that still moving forward?
Yeah, that's moving forward. The city hired A&E actually to be the consultants for that project. So they're doing spatial analysis right now, kind of needs analysis for the city and county to see if we could fit in there, and then how much the cost would be to do any maintenance. Basically just estimating what needs to happen and is it feasible? They're basically doing a feasibility study. But as far as the feds, yeah, we are currently #1 on the list to get it. That's not secure yet, but we're actively going through. We're in the process, so it's moving forward with the feds. And as of right now, it sounds pretty for sure that we will be able to inherit it. So, I mean, if the city county wants to, but as far as anyone else who's interested in it, we're the only active parties that are interested in it.
Okay.
And we're doing an assessment of all the interior and exterior of the building as far as maintenance and any problems that need to be corrected or things like that. So that's, it's a big building.
Yes, it is.
It's a huge building.
Just one day I walked around the building just up and down the stairs and through the corridors, and it's 1.8 miles.
Mhm.
Wow. Cool. Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, because I think all the windows were replaced 2006,
yeah,
at least
that's
on the
correct.
first
Yeah,
floor. Yeah,
it's a project I worked on with CTA,
Okay.
and we restored the ones on the first level and replaced the ones up above.
okay.
Similar. That was the agreement with the SHPO at that time. So
Yeah, yeah, I had just started and just moved back to Missoula, and it was mid-project, that's all I remember.
mhm.
It is
And they're
great.
still all in very good condition.
Good, good.
They paint 20 windows every year, and
Mhm.
so they're a little behind on some of the interior courtyard windows. There's some damage, but it's mostly just sill peeling paint on the sills. So it's actually pretty good. They've been holding up really well.
Yeah.
Any other board comments? Any announcements other than I took part in the National Trust Conference, 13 sessions. So It was very good. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I was impressed.
Yeah, and I think Kent did some too, and Kent and Paul. I don't know if anybody else did, but
I'm
Mhm.
catching up. We were out on a project that week, so I'm catching up.
Do you have access? I haven't re-logged in. Do you have access to the recordings and everything?
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
yeah, they'll be on the 15th of November. I think they're gonna set those up, so
Oh,
you're
cool.
able to do that. And also APT this year from Edmonton, they just announced today that they have all their recordings up, if you want to look at
they
that.
do. Yeah,
conference
we've been
also.
going through some of those as well.
Cool.
Okay. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention, Liz and I went on the tour downtown of the Interpreted Trail last Thursday night and had a great dinner at Scotty's Table as part of that. And it was very nice. They did a great job. So,
Good to hear. Oh, good. And Christiana led it. Is that correct?
yes, yes.
Sorry, do you guys hear my dogs? Can you hear that?
A little bit.
Okay, I have a Malamute.
I think
He
they're-
happens.
Yeah, I can't tell at all. He sounds a tad unhappy.
There must be a siren in the neighborhood.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. If there's no other comments, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.